Starting Thursday, leaders of the West will have their eyes on the Central Asian nation of Uzbekistan. The country is hosting the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit this year, where the grouping is all set to expand further. Leaders of Russia and China, Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping, are making rare trips overseas for this summit. Amid the Ukraine war, they will be joined by leaders of India, Pakistan, Turkey, Iran and other countries. Both China and Russia have long sought to position the SCO as an alternative to the Western multilateral groupings. They could possibly be closer to this aim now than ever before. The summit is taking place in the backdrop of rapidly changing geopolitical equations. Russia has time and again called the geopolitics of America-led Western alliances as predatory. It cites Finland's and Sweden's NATO application as the latest example. And to counter this, Moscow is planning to fall back on its SCO partners, the top two being China and India. In fact, China's slant towards Russia over the Ukraine war is clear. Beijing is not part of international sanctions against Moscow. China's relations with the West have also plunged to an all-time low, especially with the United States over tensions in the Taiwan Strait. China is also standing against the US as a hegemon in the Asia-Pacific. So both Russia and China are showing signs of resisting not just the American power, but also the existing global order. India's partnership is also extremely crucial for Russia. The world's largest democracy and a key Quad member has maintained close ties with the US and the West, and at the same time has further strengthened ties with Russia amid the Ukraine war. New Delhi has refused to take sides in the ongoing war. Much to the dismay of the West, India abstained from UN votes on the Russian invasion. The country has instead called for a diplomatic solution to the crisis. India's imports of Russian oil have soared since the Ukraine invasion. Russian President Vladimir Putin will be holding a bilateral with India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The two are expected to discuss issues of strategic ability, situation in the Asia-Pacific, and bilateral cooperation within the United Nations and the G20. But India may have its reservations. It may have to ponder upon whether or not to back Russia's alternative to the West. New Delhi is clearly not anti-West. It even has its long-standing issues with Pakistan. With China, tensions have mounted over border disputes along the line of actual control. Adding to the West's list of concerns is the SCO expansion and inclusion of its latest member, Iran. Tehran will be gaining full membership of the SCO. Iran had been long waiting for this diplomatic success. Apart from better trade, economic and foreign ties, what Tehran could be seeking is support from an anti-West grouping, as chances of the 2015 nuclear deal revival look bleak. So can the Shanghai Cooperation Organization that was formed with the focus on regional security and development, now with the changing geopolitical order, will it turn into an alternative to a US-led Western alliance, is the question. And going straight across to our correspondents, Mallick and Sidhant Sibal, live on the broadcast right here. They've both been tracking all those developments very closely. Going over to Anas first. Anas, I believe you also have a special guest with you. Over to you. Give us a sense of what you are gathering at this point.
Well, absolutely, you're right, Molly. I have the advisor to the Uzbek Foreign Minister, Mr. Yusuf, with me. And let's just have a word with him on how significant is this summit going forward in Uzbekistan. Sir, thank you so much for your time and speaking to WION. I would just want to ask that this summit is happening at such a crucial time. This is perhaps the biggest gathering of leaders going forward since G20. What does Uzbekistan expect, and what are your preparations or expectations from this big gathering?
Hakikaten, assalomu alaykum. Hakikaten bizani Shanghai tashkiloti raisligimizda 80 ta ortu tadbirlar o'tkazildi. Undan tashqari bu tadbirga alohida urg'u bersa ham bo'ladi, gapirsa ham bo'ladi. Bu tadbir tarixiy birinchi marta bo'lyapti, ya'ni qaysi ma'noda birinchi marta 14 dan ziyod davlat rahbarlari kelishadi. Shu tashkilotda shu davrada gaplashib ko'p narsa muhokama qilinadi. Undan tashqari yaqinda o'tgan kuni bizning hurmatli prezidentimiz Shavkat Mirziyoyev maqolalar chiqdi. Batafsil shu tadbir to'g'risida ham bizning qarashimizni, mana shunga nimaga erishganimizga, nima qo'yilgan maqsadlarga batafsil shu to'g'risida yozib berilgan.
Right. We'll just have it translated from his official translator.
Assalamu alaikum. This SCO Summit is very important because the Samarkand is in history first time is hosting SCO Summit. Samarkand is very historical and ancient city. And also, under the chairmanship of Uzbekistan, more than 18 events were held in Uzbekistan. And Samarkand is waiting for 14 presidents and prime minister of SCO member states, and also some other presidents of Turkey, Azerbaijan, and Armenia. Just 2 days ago, the article of the president of Uzbekistan, Shavkat Mirziyoyev, were published. The president in his article talked about the all important aspects of the chairmanship of Uzbekistan and also SCO Summit, because as you know that today the geopolitical system is not working properly, and also there are more problem about their natural problem, and also some disasters such COVID, and no country can cope up with these problems. That's why we need cooperation. And the Samarkand is called for all countries to cooperate to solve all global and international problems.
Right. So there you have it. It's quite important for Uzbekistan, as you heard from Mr. Yusuf himself. Thank you so much for taking our time, sir. The Uzbek side deems it very critical, very important. They say in the changing scenario, cooperation is important, and they clearly deem Samarkand as the epicenter for regional cooperation going forward. Molly?
Indeed, we're leaving it there for the moment. Thanks very much, Anas, for those updates. Let me also bring in Sidhant Sibal onto the conversation. Sidhant, a lot of expectations from the SCO Summit. Help us piece together what the agenda will be, what India will specifically be looking at, and what the expectations overall are.
Well, Molly, the historic city of Samarkand, which was the national capital of the Timurid Empire, where, of course, the Silk Road passed through, will be hosting the SCO Summit. And the summit is being hosted at a time when the friction between West and the East has significantly increased. We know that both Moscow and Beijing combined are, of course, having not so good time with the Western powers, especially after the Ukraine crisis and the Taiwan Strait crisis. Now, let me tell you that on the platter of the leaders will be a lot of hard discussions on counterterrorism, connectivity, trade, and other related issues, but also a lot of soft movements. Tomorrow, in fact, the SCO leaders will be taking a boat ride. This will, of course, be a very informal moment, but everyone will be closely watching the body language. Given the leaders of SCO countries, including the Chinese and the Russian side, will be together. Of course, SCO Summit provides that ample of opportunity for a lot of bilaterals. One, of course, internationally is being keenly watched, is the meeting between the Russian President Vladimir Putin and the Chinese President Xi Jinping. This is their first in-person meeting since the Ukraine conflict, and the brotherhood between the two leaders has significantly increased from civilian perspective to the military perspective. But also for the Indian side, it will be an occasion first, of course, to take the presidency of the grouping. India became member of the grouping in 2017, and it will be hosting the summit next year for the first time, at a time when, of course, India also hosts the G20 summit. For India, of course, it will be an occasion to showcase a lot of things, including how it has been on the world stage. But the Indian Prime Minister is going to strongly raise the issue of two things. First, of course, the issue of terrorism, especially terrorism emanating from Pakistan and Islamabad's support to terrorism. Secondly, on the connectivity, especially saying that that connectivity should be transparent. It should be something that should not lead to debt crisis. That's a message to Islamabad and Beijing both, given that CPEC passes through Pakistan occupied Kashmir. So this is something that India has done in the past, but also a lot of engagements for the Indian Prime Minister, meeting with the Russian President Vladimir Putin, the Iranian President and the Uzbek, who are the hosts. But the big question, or perhaps elephant or the dragon in the room, is will there be a meeting between the Indian side and the Chinese side, or Indian side with the Pakistani side? This perhaps will be the lead story on Friday and of course on Saturday as well.
Right, we're leaving it there for the moment. Sidhant, Sibal and Anas Mallick will be bringing us all those updates. We're leaving it there. Thanks very much. WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.